Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to 2025. We are roughly 18 months away from the biggest World Cup in US men's national team history, which makes 2025 a crucial year in preparation for that, which has huge short-term and long-term implications. Today we're going to go through the United States men's national team 2025 schedule and establish the goals that must be achieved to consider this year a success, which is mostly my opinion, of course, for whatever that's worth. Now understand that 2024 was a rough year, and the United States men's national team actually took a massive step backwards. But after getting rid of Greg Berhalter and hiring Mauricio Pochettino, it's time to take two huge steps forward. Hello. If you are new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV. And today we're going to go through the 2025 schedule. So, you can mark your calendars, and I will be giving you my takes on what the United States must accomplish, once again, for whatever that's worth. 2025 is the year to set the tone, get the fans excited for the World Cup, and most importantly, get the players and fan base to believe that something special can happen in 2026. And you can help that by hitting the like button in this video. If you don't hit the like button in this video, the United States will lose in the group stage of the 2026 World Cup. I don't make the rules, just believe me, hit the like button. Do you really want to risk it? And think about it for a second. Why would I lie to you? Oh, and 2025 is also a huge year for Tactical Manager TV. We have a massive project coming up later this year that I'm about to tell you how you can possibly be involved with some very, very big names, influencers, celebrities. No, it's not going to be Tom Cruise. I know many people say I'm just a better looking and taller version of Tom Cruise, but unfortunately, Tom Cruise will not be with us, and neither will be Bono. I wish Bono would be with us, but he won't be. Regardless, we have this massive project coming up later this year. If you own a company, a brand, or work in the marketing department of a corporation, whatever, and you want to be involved, it's a soccer project with big names. Email us at tacticalmanagertv@gmail.com. And if you do so, we can talk about it and we can see if you can and if you want to be involved. It's a really big project, so reach out as soon as possible because we probably won't have spots for anyone else by late February or so. With that said, roll the intro. All right, let's start with what matters the most, the competitive games. So the US men's national team will have two competitive windows this year, and they will actually be the last competitive games that the United States will have prior to the 2026 World Cup, which comes to show how important, how crucial this year actually is. In the lead up to the 2026 World Cup, the United States men's national team will play no competitive games, just friendlies. The two competitive tournaments will be the CONCACAF Nations League and the CONCACAF Gold Cup. For the CONCACAF Nations League, the United States will face Panama March 20th for the semifinals in a one-leg knockout round played in the United States of America. If the United States wins, they will face Mexico or Canada, the very rude Canadians, in the final. And the goal for the CONCACAF Nations League is pretty straightforward. You have to win it. It doesn't matter if you play Mexico or Canada in the final. You have to win the trophy. That's the standard we held the United States under Berhalter, under BJ Callahan, and that's the standard we should hold them under Pochettino. During the summer of 2025, we're going to have the CONCACAF Gold Cup, and I know many are saying we're going to send a B team. It will be irrelevant like the past few editions where we didn't send our best players. Actually, not really. There are plenty of reasons to believe that Pochettino will actually bring our best players for the CONCACAF Gold Cup. I firmly believe we're going to have an A team during this edition of the Gold Cup. Let me explain. So in the 2021 and 2023 Gold Cups, we did send B teams or C teams, whatever you want to call it. The US men's national team during that time also had the CONCACAF Nations League being played in June. So essentially during the summer, we had the Nations League in June, and then right after we had the Gold Cup, which meant that if any of the players played in the Nations League, they would have no rest prior to the European preseason, so they couldn't really play both competitions or they would miss preseason. which led to the US men's national team having an A team play in the Nations League and a B team playing in the Gold Cup. Now this time, the Nations League will end in March, not June. On top of that, Pochettino needs all the time he can get with this team since he was hired mid-cycle. I firmly believe the United States will have their best players in the Gold Cup, just like we had our best players during the 2024 Copa America, because in 2024, the Nations League actually ended in March. So the only players we would be missing in the Gold Cup would be the American players that would be in the Club World Cup, because FIFA and CONCACAF decided to make a very moronic decision of playing the CONCACAF Gold Cup and the Club World Cup during the same time in the United States. And the only American players that are still gonna be playing in that tournament at the time of this recording would be Gio Reyna, if he's still with Borussia Dortmund, and then Weston McKennie and Tim Weah if they are still with Juventus. So those three could be missing in our roster. Outside of that, everyone else should be available. Oh, and of course, the goal has to be win the Gold Cup. Regardless of who we send, there are no excuses. CONCACAF is ass. They suck. It's not a good region, and we need to dominate this region. We got to take these tournaments seriously. This is not the MLS regular season. And of course, use both of these tournaments, the Nations League and the Gold Cup, to develop the team, create an identity, different formations, a strong culture, things we should not still be seeking a month or two prior to the World Cup. Ideally, we want to close this year ready for the World Cup and just make adjustments in 2026 as it approaches. Okay, after the competitive games, let's talk about the friendlies that the United States might play in 2025. And I know they're friendlies, so the result itself doesn't matter that much, but these are some pretty important games. But with that said, why don't we start with the ones that are not very important? And that's the first camp of the year, which is Camp Cupcake in January, where the United States men's national team will face Venezuela January 18th and Costa Rica on the 22nd. Both games will be played in Florida. The roster has yet to be released at the time of this recording, but it should be mostly composed of MLS players, as it is not an official FIFA international window and European clubs are not obligated to release any of their players, so they're not going to release any of their players. And then after that, obviously in March, we have the Nations League, and in the summer, we have the Gold Cup, which means the United States won't play any friendlies outside of the January camp till the second semester of 2025, which would be September, October, and November. And at the time of this recording, there are no official opponents announced, just rumors. The first international window that the US men's national team could have opponents would be between June 2nd and June 10th, which is right before the Gold Cup. It is possible that we would play an opponent during that window, but it's kind of tough, right? It's right before the Gold Cup. A lot of the confederations will be having their World Cup qualifying, so I don't know what will happen there. Then we have an international window on September 1st to September 9th. After that, we have one in October 6th till the 14th. And the last camp of 2025 will be from November 10th to November 18th. So as I said, we don't have any confirmed opponents, but what are the rumors? Which national teams are we most likely going to play in the second semester of 2025? So for the September window, it's going to be rough because pretty much all other confederations will have World Cup qualifying going on. Honestly, even CONCACAF. So I would not be surprised if one of the two games that we play would be against Canada or Mexico, or maybe we just play Canada and Mexico. However, Japan and South Korea are expected to have already locked in their spots in the 2026 World Cup by then. And there have been rumors that we would play Japan possibly in the second semester of 2025, which could be the September window. So I would not be surprised if during the September window we face Japan and South Korea, or Canada or Mexico. Two of these four that I just mentioned. Now for October, we would essentially have the same opponents as September, but we can now add the CONMEBOL nations because their qualifiers will end in September. So for October, it can be any CONMEBOL team, any top national team in Asia, and then we can also face Canada or Mexico. Now for November, we can add the same ones I just mentioned for October, CONMEBOL, top Asian national teams, Canada, Mexico, plus a few of the top African nations that they will also be available. So for the November camp, we should have plenty of good opponents available for the United States to play. Now, UEFA, they have World Cup qualifying all the way till the end of the year, all the way till November, so I don't expect the United States to face any UEFA nation in 2025, maybe in 2026 as we prepare for the World Cup. So in regards to what we should accomplish in these friendlies, the results matter less. Of course, we want to win these friendlies, but it's irrelevant if we get a lucky 1-0 win in a friendly against, let's say, Argentina, and we play like crap. How we play in friendlies matter much more than in competitive games. Competitive games, you got to win. You got to get the results. In friendlies, it's about improving. We need to see us develop an identity, a style of play, chemistry. We have to look more cohesive as a team. That's the goal of the friendlies. Of course, on top of that, you want to get results, right? You don't want to play pretty soccer and lose 4-0 to Brazil. You don't want that to happen, or Colombia. Regardless, performance matters more than the results when it comes to friendlies. We need to see progress. Now look, we also have an important event in September of 2025, which is not really the US men's national team, but it's the US men's national team's U20s. In September, we have the U20 World Cup. This event will take place September 27th to October 19th in Chile. The US men's national team made it to the quarterfinals over the past 4 editions, and this time we're going to be aiming to make it at least to the semifinals. And if we bring our best U20s, I like our odds. And I know this is not the US men's national team or the one that will be in the 2026 World Cup, but this is the next generation. And this U20 World Cup could count with plenty of extremely talented Americans that will be playing there. We don't know who will be there, obviously, at the time of this recording, but there are some very good names that could be there, like Grayson DeToni, Matthews Albert, Kevin Sullivan, Diego Cochin, Josh Winder, Noah Kai Banks. We made plenty of videos talking about these players. There was even a video where we talked about, I think, like 20 of them, which is called, I think, America's Best Wonder Kids right now. There are some very talented players in this U20 generation, and if we bring all of them, this can be a very exciting tournament to follow along. We're going to cover it here at the channel. I'm going to keep track of these players. I don't think any of them, besides maybe Cochin, can make it to the 2026 World Cup. I don't think any of the others will. Regardless, it would be incredible if we could make it to the semifinals in the U20 World Cup a couple months prior to the 2026 World Cup, the main event. Now, the main event of 2025 is something that the US men's national team has zero control over, and it's expected to happen in December of 2025. It's the World Cup group stage draw. Let that sink. We are less than 12 months from that happening. It feels like it was yesterday that we were in the 2022 World Cup, and we're getting closer and closer to the 2026 World Cup, which could be the biggest of our lifetime for the US men's national team. In December, they're going to have the group stage draw, and once that happens, we enter World Cup mode. And that's all for today, everyone. That's the schedule for 2025. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like before you go. And I'm going to tell you one thing. I am actually very excited for this. It's the first year that we enter officially without Berhalter, right? Because when you think about 2023, we didn't know if Berhalter was actually going to leave or stay, and now we start this year with Pochettino, and he has already had a few camps in charge. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do with this very talented US men's national team generation. I want to thank you all very much for watching, and have a great day.